Hi everybody, what is up? My name's Gary and this is your Frederish podcast. Yeah, here we are once again because you know why? Because it's Friday, TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. Hey guys, how are you doing? Welcome to a new episode. Today we're going to talk about something almost everybody loves, myself included, of course. That is video games. Well, probably you're one of a big lover, video game big lover, just like me. I really hope so. If you're not, I deep inside, I expect to get you quote unquote converted to our cause, right? So if you've never played video games in your life, I would like to ask you this question: why not? Go ahead, give it a try. You're not gonna regret, I promise. Okay, guys. So there's one more thing about the video games that is interesting to mention before we get it started. That is in the title of this episode. The fact that it can get you to be more intelligent, can get you and your kids, if you allow them to play, more intelligent, smarter. Okay, this is a fact. Okay, I know it's been a lot of there's a lot of prejudice around this topic, especially if you grew up in the 90s, in the 80s, when video game was in its, beginning, all right, in its initial era, so to say. But yeah, let's just debunk as many of these myths as possible, okay? But before we get there, let me just do the one and only, disclaimer about this episode. Of course, I'm not saying that you, your kid, your grandparents, whoever, should be playing video game every day, all day, okay? Totally not, of course. Discipline is necessary, balance is necessary. Because, well, no mystery, video games aren't perfect. Okay, you don't get your usually. Okay, there are a few exceptions, but we're gonna get there. Video games don't get you to move your body, don't get you to exercise, right? And even if they did, all right, your mind cannot be at the same thing every day, all day. As I said, of course not. So a little bit of balance, a little bit of common sense is required here, okay? When you get to hear the compliments I'm gonna make and the scientific evidences that this is a good thing for our brain is necessary. All right. So without further ado, having done the one and only necessary disclaimer, let's get to it. Well, before we get there, let me just share with you guys a little bit of my history with video games. Well, I grew up in the 90s, okay? I was born at the end of the 80s, so I was a kid and a teenager in the 90s and the early 20s. So, I grew up around in an environment that was surrounded by games, okay? Games of all nature, okay? If you're the same age or similar age to mine, that is in your early 30s, you will get to relate to what I'm saying. Is that, like, we had video games, we had computer in its beginning, right? At least in Brazil, all right? I'm talking from Brazil, in case you guys don't know that. So it was in its beginning, meaning that it wasn't something common as it is today, as it has been in the past 15 years. Okay, it was quite unusual. You had to have some money, okay, in order to have one. All right, so it wasn't everyone who had it, but people, myself included, so we got to witness the dawn. That was the word I was looking for, the dawn of this era. All right, meaning that the beginning of computers, where like, hey, someone's got a computer, and then another friend of yours has got one too, and then two or more friends of yours, and this progressively until it became something natural as it is today, right? Almost everybody, unless you're really poor, you have a computer or a cell phone, a smartphone. That is almost the same thing these days, all right? But anyways, and then came the cyber cafes, okay, the so-called LAN houses, right? And there isn't a specific name to it in English. I put some research to see if there's some cultural thing in it. They will call it cyber cafe, internet cafe, you know, or even playing game center. You know, the names will vary, will change depending on the region, depending on the time and everything. All right. But anyways, then these things started to come around. Me particularly, I never got to go playing in these places. I can't remember exactly why. Well, probably because my mom was a little bit strict. I mean, when I say a little bit strict, she was quite strict to this sense. Like, she wouldn't have me, you know, sleeping over, you know, a unknown place, you know, especially playing games with boys, which was, as far as I can tell, something harmless, all right? Meaning that there was no drugs involved, there was no alcohol in general, of course, not to mention the exceptions, but in general, the main objective, the main goal was playing games, right? So I never got to do that, but lots of my friends did. Lots of you guys aging 30, 35, you know, in your early 30s or even late 30s can totally relate to that, and probably relate with a affectionate memory approach, I would say, right? But anyways, by playing games, I had a Sega, that is a Mega Drive, as known in Brazil as Mega Drive. And then I had a Super Nintendo, which is a little bit better, in my opinion. Some people say it's the same, but most people say it's a step ahead, right? One step ahead, which I totally agree. I love both, but I would say that I remember me age 10, 11 getting really happier when I got the Super Nintendo, all right? So that's how my life with games started, okay? And I am a little bit of an exception to my generation because I never had a PlayStation, all right? I don't know, all my friends had PlayStations. My best friend has a PlayStation to the present day. And I would be at his place playing and mostly watching him playing, you know, day in, day out, okay? So maybe for this reason I never, you know, and also because I remember I had a friend who had a Nintendo 64, which is, to make a long story short, okay, it's something between the Super Nintendo and the PlayStation 1, right? I mean, it's a kind of a rival to PlayStation 1, but a little bit inferior. Maybe it's my perspective. Anyways, so I had a friend who had a Nintendo 64. It was a very rich boy, by the way. But anyways, he had a Nintendo 64 in 1999, 1998, which is if you are in your early 30s or in your late 30s, you will remember that only very rich people had a Nintendo 64, you know. PlayStation 1 came in 2000, okay? But as I said, I never had one. Probably this is where I was trying to get, probably because in the house of this friend of mine, this rich friend of mine who had a Nintendo 64, I always thought the games quite hard, okay? And for some reason I didn't like this thing of, you know, like this adrenaline thing back in the days, you know. I remember vividly playing Super Metroid, which is a game everyone who says that they love Super Nintendo will at least remember, not to say love it. Some people don't like it, but most do. Most not only like, but love it, myself included. I remember I got to finish Super Metroid, but because my friends pressured me to do it, all right? Of course, I love the game, etc. It's a great game. It's always been. I loved it back in the days, just as I love today, okay? But I would have given up, okay, if I were alone. So by this, I'm trying to say that I never really much, when I was a kid and a teenager, I never got to love I wouldn't say violent games because I loved Mortal Kombat, for example, but adrenaline games, games that would get you losing, having yourself beat up by enemies, challenging games like that. And when I would look to PlayStation games, to the 3D games, there were a few 3D with many quote marks, between many quote marks, in Super Nintendo, and I didn't get to appreciate them either. Okay, I love them today. I find them a little bit boring because of the lack of technology to support that kind of environment, but the concept is just marvelous. So I didn't appreciate much of the 3D adrenaline games. This is precisely the reason why I never asked my parents to buy me PlayStation 1. I don't know if they would have bought me a PlayStation 1. It was pretty expensive back in the days, but I never even asked them because of this. I was like, I would get like nervous a lot, and that's why. Anyway, so I've been there's been a hiatus in my life, my gaming history. I spent like, as when I grew up, when I became a teenager and then eventually an adult, I completely stopped, only playing here and there. I didn't have my video game anymore. Computers weren't what they are today with lots of emulators, right? And then years and years later, I got an emulator to play Super Nintendo. It's been like 4 or 5 years, and I still do it almost every day, at least a little bit. I even got a PlayStation 1 emulator. I will get to play more of PlayStation. I'm absolutely sure I will love the games because I remember watching my friends playing the games and enjoying that, because there wasn't the adrenaline thing, and also back in the days I was starting my English learning journey, so my friends would appreciate having me around to translate every now and then when necessary and when possible to me. Of course, as I said, I was just a beginner. All right, so this is the history I have. I would like for this episode to convince you that doing this is a good thing. Again, with discipline, with balance, with order, with authority of your parents. If you're a parent, you should not, with all due respect, you should not keep allow your kid to become an addict. Okay, one thing is becoming a lover, another thing is becoming an addict. Okay, addict is a person who's addicted to something, because it is to certain extent, it is not much different from being an addict, being addicted to drugs or anything similar. So with all the discipline necessary, with all the common sense, with all the good understanding why you should do that, and you should get your kids to do that too, if they're up to it. Of course, you're not gonna force anyone to do anything. All right, so it's a courtesy from the ChatGPT, but I can sign under it. Okay, and of course get you guys my views on each one of them. So let's get it started. Benefit number 1: improved cognitive skills. Video games can enhance cognitive functions such as problem solving, critical thinking, memory, and spatial awareness. All right. So when ChatGPT gives me this is the first benefit, it is not just something random. Okay, there are studies behind it. Okay. Which doesn't absolutely mean it is the only thing that can get your cognitive skills improved. Of course not, totally not. But it's one of the things that will certainly benefit and help you to make progress in this area. Other, not to mention the natural progress that we have while as growing up, but it will totally enhance. If you don't know this verb, hence means make it bigger, potentialize it. Okay, so will certainly enhance your cognitive functions, meaning the way you learn things, the way you absorb information and everything. Benefit number 2: enhance coordination. Action and simulation games often require precise hand-eye coordination and quick reflexes, which can improve motor skills. Well, this is a kind of an unnecessary thing, because if you don't have any, I mean, when I say that, I mean like it's pretty obvious, right? If you don't have good reflexes, you're gonna suck at video games, especially the ones that require that. That is, to a certain extent, at least 80% of the games. Okay, no matter which video game you're talking about, a clear exception to this rule would be the RPG games. Okay, but we're gonna get there. Make no mistake, they have their benefits too. Not this one, the coordination. Okay. By this one, I mean when you're playing like a race game, a fight game, or soccer, or any other sports game, or even adventure games where you have to dodge enemies, you have to jump over their heads, like Super Mario, for example. It will totally get your I like this definition, henai. Basically what you see correlated and coordinating with your hand, okay, to move, to do the action, because no spoiler, video games are played with your hands to the present moment, to the day I'm recording this audio. So, benefit 3, stress relief. Playing video games can be a fun and effective way to reduce stress and relax after a long day. Well, no wiser words have ever been spoken, I would say. Of course, there are many other ways to relax, and some of them even healthier than playing a video game itself, like doing sports, for example. But this is undoubtedly one of the ways you can relax the best, For example, when it's raining or it's snowing, I don't know where you live, or you can really go out of your house, for example. Or you have already done your fair share of sports for the day. It is because sports will relax your body, will have your body relaxed, while video games will have your mind relaxed. Of course, you need your mind, your thinking, your cognitive skills to play sports, most of them at least. But you would need like 100% of your cognitive skills to play games, no matter what kind of games we're talking about. So yeah, and for any one of you who's come home after a stressful, long, exhausting day, sit down, in the couch and play for 15, 20, or even 30 minutes something that will require a little bit of adrenaline, some sports game, some adventure game. There's nothing better. Benefit 4, social interaction. Many video games are multiplayer or have online components, providing opportunities to connect with friends and make new ones. Yeah, today it's kind of needless to say that, with internet, especially if you're a kid or a teenager, you will have lots of opportunities to be talking to people while you play. Of course, there's a fair share of worry. A fair share of preoccupation here is necessary. Meaning you have to be careful. Especially if we're talking about kids and teenagers. Like, who are they talking to? But aside from that, okay, if provided that your kids are playing with school friends, street friends, or even their cousins, it is something that will totally get them, their social interaction, their interacting skills improved, right? They will have subject to talk, they will have experience to share when your family, if your kids playing partners are your cousins, for example. Every time the family gathers up to a barbecue or a birthday or any other celebration, you will realize the kids will be aside just discussing as if they had just recently come from a war zone or something, and it is very nice. It's very good. I really think that I should have been born like in the early 2000s, in order to have gotten this time where kids get to play online. I didn't when I was a kid and a teenager. internet wasn't, as I said before, what it is today. So it's a shame. Maybe for the next reincarnation. Who knows? Teamwork and communication. Multiplayer games often require teamwork and communication, promoting cooperation and social skills. Nothing more needs to be said about it. That's 100% true. Benefit 6. Creativity. Games with open worlds or creative modes, like Minecraft for example, allow players to express their creativity and build unique structures or stories. Here's where I would add the RPG, meaning rolling play games, to this conversation. For those of you who don't know what an RPG game is, well, it all started in the 80s before technology, or at least at first they were not played online or in computers. They're board games, okay, with characters from, to make a long story short, Lord of the Ring characters, or similars, So with this kind of universe in mind, the players would roll their dice and play stories, of things, of characters that would, just like in any good story, evolve, get stronger, get wiser, get bigger, depending on what your character is. If it's a human-like character, if it's a reptile, imagination can literally fly up to the sky with this kind of game. And then, of course, naturally, it migrated to the internet, to the games, and we have what we call today RPG games. That are games that I wouldn't say Minecraft is an RPG game. Maybe you guys let me know, because I never play Minecraft. I know the game, but I don't know. Anyways, but the whole concept behind RPG games is that there's a story and your characters in plural, because you often play with more than one character, and they evolve. Okay, they level up. That's how they say it. And then, of course, the story gets interesting. You have to go, you can go left, right, up, and down on the screen, and explore all of the lands and the places existing in the story. They were quite limited in the past, but even though really cool, today there's no limit to it. There are literally infinite universes. So when you talk about creativity, nothing more needs to be said about it. Benefit 7. Strategic thinking. Strategy games and puzzles can enhance strategic thinking and planning abilities. Well, take everything I said to the topic before, to benefit number 6, and add to this one, right? Today, there are, in the past 10 years, how can I put it? War games, online war, battling games, you name it, have become really, really popular. I didn't get to play them. Again, I'm gonna leave on my friend's account, because I've witnessed them playing these games online, which is very, very cool, and it gets you to, do the pretty much the same thing you have to do in an RPG game, but also having to quickly and immediately put up a strategy or a set of strategies to win a battle, an upcoming battle. When I say upcoming battle, it's like exactly that's what's gonna happen. You get together in that online with your friends, everyone online, and you have your own your character. In this case, you play with only one character. Your friends have theirs, their characters, and you all meet an enemy army or an enemy group and get to fight and see who wins. This totally requires a strategy in order to be, if you really wanna win the battle. Otherwise your opponent will totally get your butt beat up. All right, so that's it. Benefit 8. Enhanced learning. Educational games can be both fun and informative, helping players learn new skills or concepts. Yeah, that's so true. Games 99 out of 100 times have a at least relatively good background story, and very, very commonly they're connected to reality, or even to made up stories, but to reality or in between them, reality and made up stories. And you get to learn a lot of things, right? Especially if we're talking about games that are really educational, like games that are made with the purpose of getting your learning skills, your learning, drive, so to say, to get better, So this is clearly something that works this way. Benefit 9, improved attention and focus. Many games require sustained attention and concentration, which can boost, meaning enhance, meaning get better, amplify these skills in players. Well, if you're a player, you know that attention is so necessary, and for some reason I see people that are not very attention oriented, so to say, in real life. But when they're playing games, when they have the phones around their ears and they're in front of the screen, they totally become a different person, totally attention, attention oriented person, focus and everything. So it's a pretty interesting thing to pay attention to. Okay, and last for this episode, benefit number 10, persistence and resilience. Overcoming challenging levels or opponents can teach players persistence and resilience in the face of setbacks. Well, I couldn't agree more to it. It's 100% true. The whole center, the whole core of playing video games is like overcoming the setbacks, overcoming the challenges, the obstacles, accomplishing the mission. So no matter what game we're talking about, you have to have at least some amount of resilience and persistence in order to finish it. Okay, guys, there's more. Okay, ChatGPT has been pretty generous in the items here. Okay, there are 10 more, but I'll save them for a next episode, so this one doesn't get too long. Okay, I'm gonna have to let you guys go because there's probably work stuff to do, college, But anyways, I'll be back with this, or as Arnold Schwarzenegger would say, I'll be back. That's so horrible. Anyways, guys, that's it for this episode. Thank you so very much for your lovely and valuable presence. I really hope you have added some value to your life, okay? And you will give video games a try if you haven't already. If you've never played them properly, you should. At least in my opinion. Let me know yours. See you in the next episode. Thank you very much. Bye.